Hello everyone, welcome to my page. Today in this video, the rise of nationalism in Europe, part 5, we are going to learn about two topics, visualizing the nation, and final topic of the chapter is the nationalism and imperialism. So these two will be the last part of the chapter that we'll be discussing under the rise of nationalism in Europe. Visualizing the nation. Okay, when we talk about a ruler or a person or a great personality, to represent them, we can use the help of a portrait or a statue. Rulers or the person who is important can be represented through a portrait or a statue. But when we talk about an abstract thing called nation, how to represent it? So artists in the 18th and the 19th century, they have found a way of representing abstract things, mostly the nation, which is a personification of nation. They try to personify or to give a human figure to the abstract term nation. Okay. In other words, they represented a country as if it were a person. Nations were then portrayed as female figures. The female form that was chosen to personify the nation did not stand for any particular woman in real life. Rather, it sought to give the abstract idea of the nation a concrete form. That is, the female figure became the allegory of the nation. Okay, fine. When they choose a human figure, they usually prefer to choose a female. But this female figure has nothing to do with a real woman in the world. So it was simply used as an allegory. Now what is allegory? Allegory is an abstract idea. For instance, greed, envy, freedom, liberty. These all are expressed through a person or a thing. When it is expressed through a person or a thing, we call it as allegory. An allegorical story has two meanings, one literal and one symbolic. So here we have when we are using the allegory, it has two meanings. One, the symbolic, and another, the literal meaning. To recall the French Revolution, you'll remember the French revolutionary artists, they used female allegory to portray the ideas of liberty, justice, and republic. Okay, these ideas were represented through specific object or symbols. Liberty are mostly is represented through a red cap or the broken chain. Justice through a blindfolded woman carrying a pair of weighing scales. So these were the ways how the French revolutionary artists tried to personify the abstract feelings like liberty, justice, and republic. During this nation building process also, various revolutionaries started to give a personification towards the feeling of a nation, towards the creation of a nation. So in France, she was christened as Marian, a popular Christian name. Okay, here Marian, the popular Christian name, which actually underlined the idea of people's nation. Her characteristics were drawn from those of liberty and the republic, the red cap, tricolor, and cockade. Statue of Marian were erected in public squares to remind the public the national symbol of unity and to persuade them to identify with it. Marian images were marked on coins and stamps. Okay. In Germany, in the same time, Germania was considered to be the allegory of the German nation. In visual representation, Germania wears a crown of oak leaves, as German oak stands for heroism. Okay, so here you can see the picture of Germania wearing the oak leaves as a headgear, and various other things that are with this statue is the broken chain, So, in the next part of the chapter here, let's learn the meaning of the symbols used with the allegory of Germania. Broken chain, it represented being freed. Breastplate with eagle, the symbol of German Empire, the strength. Crown of oak leaves, heroism. Sword, readiness to fight. Olive branch around the sword, willingness to make peace. Black, red, and gold tricolor flag of the liberal nationalists in 1848, banned by the dukes of the German states. Rays of the rising sun, beginning of a new era. You can see these are the symbols used with the allegory. The allegory has been represented in various ways. Here is one, the fallen Germania. Another, you can see Germania being shown as guarding the Rhine River in Germany. So here, this is how the feeling of a nation was brought to the people who were mostly illiterate through the female figures, the personification of the feelings. Last part of the chapter is the nationalism and imperialism. The term nationalism in course of time got merged with the term called imperialism. We have been learning about imperialism from our lower classes. In this process of imperialism, a group of powerful nations started to dominate various places outside their own territorial boundary and control the economic and political power of those regions. So here we'll see how nationalism got immersed with the term imperialism. Okay, the last quarter of the 19th century, nationalism was no longer retained its idealistic liberal democratic sentiments of the first half of the century. So in the beginning of the 19th century, the nationalism, the feeling of nationalism had an idealistic liberal and democratic sentiment. Slowly towards the end, towards the last quarter of the 19th century, this entire liberal thoughts and democratic sentiments started to fade away, and a narrow creed grew up in its place. Here, creed means a set of beliefs, mostly the authoritative formulas. Okay, during this period, the nationalist group became increasingly intolerant towards each other and ever ready to go to war. If you remember, when the Greek people were fighting for their independence, people all over Europe supported them. There was a support by other groups of people for a nation building process in the beginning of the 19th century. But towards this end, we can see that there was jealousy, there was intolerance between groups of people. The major European powers, they in turn manipulated the nationalist aspiration of the subject peoples in Europe to further their own imperialist aim. They tried to use the situation to gain benefit in occupying more territories outside the nation or to implement their imperialistic motives. One such area was the Balkans. Okay, the tension that arose in this region after 1871 resulted in various activities which finally landed the world into a great disaster. The Balkan was a region of the geographical and ethnic variation comprising modern day Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Siberia, and Montenegro, whose inhabitants were broadly known as the Slavs. This Slav group of people, they are mostly European people but speaking various Slavic languages. They were ruled by different rulers but mostly under the Ottoman Turks. Okay, that means the territory that we are talking is today's Eastern Europe and some parts of Asia, West Asia. A large part of Balkan was under the control of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire were the Turks ruler, the Muslim rulers. The spread of the idea of romantic nationalism Remember, we have learned about the romantic nationalism that tried to develop a sense of nationalism among the people through the use of culture, art, music, poetry. So when this came to this Balkan region, we can see that with the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire made this region very explosive. The time when the romantic nationalism came to the Balkans, there was a disintegration within the Ottoman Empire. And for this reason, coming of romantic nationalism and breaking away of the Ottoman Empire, the territories of the Balkan region became more explosive. Okay. All through the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire had sought to strengthen itself through modernization and internal reforms. The Ottoman Empire, that which was breaking down, tried to rebuild itself through bringing modernization and some internal reforms. But they were not very successful. So one by one, the European subject nationalists, the European territories which were under the Ottoman Empire, started to break. They broke away from the control of the Ottoman rulers and declared their independence. The Balkan people based on their claims for independence or political rights on nationality and used history to prove that they had once been independent but had subsequently been subjugated by the foreign powers. So here the Balkan people now try to claim their independence on the basis of history. They tried to prove that they were historically independent, but in course of time they were brought under the control of the Ottomans. So hence now in this time they also deserve to become independent. Hence the rebellious nationalists in the Balkans thought of their struggle as the attempt to win back their long lost independence. The Slavic nationalists, they struggled to define their identity and independence. The Balkan area became more intense conflict, area of a more intense conflict because of the involvement of the other European powers. The Balkan states were fiercely jealous of each other. Each of them hoped to gain more territory at the expense of other. It was like, I want to become independent. One particular territory thinks that let's become independent, but not on our own territories alone. We will become independent by acquiring more territory at the cost of the other groups. Okay, the matters became more complicated when the European powers, the big powers of Europe, started poking their nose into these areas. They started to come into these areas for their own interest. They mostly wanted to occupy this region for trade and colonial expansion. The most important powers of Europe at that time was Russia, Germany, England, Austria, Hungary, who has an interest in the Balkan region. They wanted to have control over this region. For one reason is for trade, another for the expansion of colonies. This led to the series of wars in the region that those were being called the Balkan Wars between these European powers, which finally resulted in the First World War. First World War broke out in 1914. Okay, nationalism aligned with imperialism led Europe to a disaster in 1914, the First World War. But meanwhile, many countries in the world which had been colonized by European powers in the 19th century began to oppose imperial domination. So during this time, 1914, when the Balkan territories were being occupied by the European powers and this resulted in the First World War, around the world there was another development going on. The colonies of these big European powers in different parts of the world started to raise their voice against their rulers, imperialist rulers. So these movements were called nationalist movement, like that of the Indian nationalist movement under the various leaders, mostly under Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian National Congress. Okay, so in the sense that they all struggled to form independent nation states and were inspired by a sense of collective national unity, forged in confrontation with imperialism. So they came into confrontation with the imperialism because they want to create their own independent nations and create a sense of collective national unity. But interestingly, this nationalism that were growing in different colonies that were set up by the European powers in different parts of the world was not indebted to the nationalist feeling of Europe. Nationalism in Europe has different angle, and here nationalism in these colonies was different. So sorry. So this is the end of the chapter. So here I end. Hope to meet you in the future. Bye.